Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Shannon. How you doing? Nice to meet you. I hope you're doing so very well. Today I'm going to be doing the This or That book tag romance edition. So if you're interested in my answers, then stick around. The first question is cliffhanger or happily ever after. For this in romance edition, I'm gonna go with happily ever after, I think. I don't know, like, I feel like if it's a series, then cliffhangers, it doesn't bother me. Or even if it's an open-ended kind of ending, that doesn't bother me either. But if I had to only read one, it would be Happily Ever Afters, just because I feel like in a romance, like, I'm looking for something cute, fluffy, and fun. So if there was cliffhangers in every romance I read, I think I would be left feeling like not satisfied, whereas happily ever afters would leave me satisfied. So I'm gonna go with happily ever afters. The next question is hardback or paperback. For this, I'm gonna go with floppy paperback, which is not an option, but I'm making it an option. Hardcovers are really good to like display on my shelves, and if I can only get a book in hardcover, I will if I'm excited. Paperbacks are better for me to read. I think they're more enjoyable to read, but a floppy paperback is like the best reading experience ever. It's so comfortable to read a floppy paperback. So I'm actually adding in an answer to this and going for floppy paperback. The next question is angsty or cutesy, and for this I'm gonna go with angsty. I love all the angst. I like a cutesy story, but I feel like in angst you could have cute moments as well as the angst, and I really enjoy like an angsty romance, especially if it's like hate to love or enemies to lover. Like the angst in that is just spot on if done well. The next question is standalone or series, and for this, again, I'm gonna add in another answer choice because I like standalones that are in series that are companions. So, for example, the Bully series by Penelope Douglas, they're all standalones. You can read them as standalones, but you can also read them as a series and see recurring characters, but you don't have to. I really like companion series. I think they're a way to get a couple's story and then also see them later on and still be involved in that world. So I'm just adding all my own answers to these because I'm going to go with companion series for this, which is not an option, but I'm making it an option. The next question is people or objects on the cover. For this, I'm going to go with objects. People drawn, like illustrations, I don't mind, but I hate people on the, like humans on covers. Like I don't like it that much. I like illustrated covers or objects on the cover, so I'm gonna go with objects for this one. Next is new adult or adult, and for this I would probably go with new adult just because I've read more of them, because new adult is my age range, so I feel like I've gravitated towards them more and that's what I've read more of over adult. So I think I'm gonna go with new adult just because I haven't read enough adult romances to know what one I prefer. I should probably start adding more adult romances to my TBR so I can find out if I even like adult romances or if I just like new adult romances. I'm not sure yet. I should read more. The next question is an alpha hero or a sweetheart hero, and for this I'm going to combine. I'm not doing this tag right, but I am just going to combine them and just be alpha sweetheart hero, because you can be an alpha hero while also having really sweetheart moments, and that's my kryptonite. Like when you have a hero that's an alpha but also is like super sweet to like the love interest. We love that on this channel. The next question is multiple books at a time or one book at a time. I'm usually a one book at a time sort of gal. I like to just immerse myself in one world, one romance, and really enjoy myself. I don't really read multiple romances at once. I may read like a different genre at the same time as I read romance. So if I'm reading a romance book, I'll read maybe a thriller or horror. I could also change formats. So if I'm reading romance physically, I may read fantasy on Kindle, which would probably be the other way around because I don't really read fantasy on Kindle. I tend to read it physically. But yeah, I tend to stick to one book at a time unless I can swap formats or swap genres. Then I may pick up another book while I'm reading a book, but that's very rare, and it also depends time. If I need to read a book by a certain time, then I will read more at once. Or if I have time to like focus my attention on 2 books, then I'll do that. But yeah, I tend to read 1 book at a time. The next question is slow burn or insta love. For this, I'm going with slow burn. Insta love for me is really hard to get on board with. I don't like jumping into a story and feeling like they're in love. Like, it just doesn't work for me. I like the drawn out, slow burn, angsty romances that make you really build up to something over just like instantly being in love. Although I will say the fake dating trope with like pretend insta love is really good. I do enjoy that, and that's probably the only time I would ever like insta love, but then it's fake, so it doesn't really count. So I'm gonna go for slow burn. Next is new release or backlist. For this, I'm gonna answer backlist just because I didn't read huge amounts of romance for a long time, so I'm still fairly new to experiencing this genre. So I have so much backlist. I literally have like lists upon lists of just recommendations from loads of people on YouTube and Instagram and BookTok, just everywhere, because I haven't really read a huge backlist of romance books. So even though some new romances, like new releases, take my interest, I think I have to answer backlist because that's mostly what I'm reading at the moment of romance. The next question is TBR or free-for-all, and for romance, it's free-for-all. For pretty much any other genre, it's TBR. I do like to structure my TBRs, but for romance, I choose free-for-all because sometimes I will pick up books on a whim, I'll pick up books on recommendations, and a lot of the times I will read on Kindle Unlimited, which I can pick up and drop anytime I want, which just sometimes just they end up slipping into my TBR without me even knowing because I'm in the mood for something that's not on my TBR. So I'm gonna go free for all for romance and TBR for the rest of my books. The next question is Open Door or Fade to Black. I think these both have a place in romance. It's hard because I like the spicy, but I also don't mind a fade to black if I'm reading a certain book that doesn't need the spice. I think this all really depends on what kind of book I'm reading, what kind of romance I'm reading, but I'm gonna have to say Open Door because generally the romance I've read has been Open Door. So yeah, I'm gonna have to answer that. Next is audiobook or ebook. I don't listen to huge amounts of audiobooks. I have a hard time finding narrators and stories I like told on audiobook form. I do read quite a bit of ebooks, and majority of what I read is physical books, so I'm gonna have to go ebooks with this one because I don't really listen to audiobooks that much. The next question is matte or glossy, and I feel like this is in reference to covers, and I don't really have a huge preference here, to be honest. I think I'm just going to choose matte because I like the look of a all matte book, but yeah, either or, I don't actually mind. Next is small town or dark romances, and for this I'm going to go dark romances. I like a small town romance. Oh, do I like dark romances more? This is a hard one actually. No, I'm going to stick with a dark romance. I really enjoy a small town romance, but the majority of what I read is probably considered dark romance because I like the angst and because I like certain tropes that tend to lead to a darker romance. I like them both, but dark romance just a little bit more, a tiny bit. Next is sprint read or marathon a series, and for this I'm probably gonna go with marathon. I tend to depending on what I need to do, I tend to marathon a series or marathon my romance backlist, because unless I'm absolutely hooked and addicted to it and need to know, then I will sprint through them. But I like to take my time and just slot them in between other things on my TBR. Next question is a baddie or a damsel in distress, and for this I'm gonna go baddie, just because I feel like damsel in distress has its place and I've seen it done well, but a lot of the times when I read damsel in distress I get really frustrated, whereas when I read a baddie I kind of like root more because there's sexiness in having a backbone, I think, and I feel like a baddie like protagonist or heroine does this really well for me, whereas a damsel in distress kind of just makes me infuriated if it's not done right. So baddie it is. And lastly we have buddy read or standalone or read alone, I don't know. For this, I have all my stuff written down here. For this I'm gonna go with read alone. I don't really buddy read romances. I feel like romances are very personal, very specific, and I don't really have someone that I can read the romances I like with, so I wouldn't be opposed to buddy reading romances. I think I just need to find someone that has similar taste to me in the romance genre, and then I can buddy read. So I'm gonna go standalone just because that's how I read my romances at the moment. And that is it. That is the This or That book tag romance edition. I tag you if you have not done this. Feel free to do this. You're now tagged. And yeah, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you have a great day, great week, great weekend whenever you're watching this. Remember to stay safe, happy and healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Pick it up from the top, hit restart.